I am out in Concord, North Carolina to participate in a Ford racing event because since I bought my Mustang, they offer, for anybody who buys a new Mustang, they offer this opportunity for free. Obviously you have to get there, and so I just flew down to Concord to Charlotte, North Carolina, and I was actually going to rent a Tesla, but turns out they didn't have one, so they offered me this Mercedes EQB 300 instead. So I thought, number one, I wanted to try, I never tried an electric car, and I've always wanted to try one. And someone offers you a Mercedes-Benz, you kind of just, you do it. So I've driven the car from the airport, and I have a couple of thoughts about the car. Number one, I've driven a couple of, I've driven, like, my grandfather had a Mercedes-Benz back in the day. It was like one of the, I think it was either like an E-Class equivalent or an S-Class, and I remember how that car felt. This car doesn't feel like that. This car has like more of a, you could say, it's a little sport. It's definitely sportier. It's very comfortable. The leather and the interior of this car are quite nice, I have to admit. I guess you could say this is one of their more entry-level cars in the that they have. You gotta love the interior of these cars. I'm in the driver's seat of the Mercedes-Benz EQB 300. This is an electric vehicle, one of their more budget-friendly options. And I kind of wanted to show you this perspective. Obviously, if you're buying this car, you're not going to be driven around in it. You are probably a normal human being that drives their car, even though it is a nice car, but it's certainly not a car to be driven in. So as far as the infotainment and the dash and all this digital, the digital gauges and all that, there's a lot of configurability. If you hit the little home button here, you can kind of go and sort of select what you want to have in the middle and stuff. You can go up, so you can select now you can go up and down and move between different options for the left side there. Obviously I kind of like it here that you can have the clock. I obviously like the speedometer. If you can select service interval and switch that. Obviously I'm not interested in that. You can go to radio, see what's playing on the radio. I got Sirius XM going here. There's a lot of configurability. Here is if you want to select cruise control, you hit the little button there and then you hit set. Very self-explanatory, very simple. I used it to drive from the airport. It worked great. Volume control here. I felt like this is the easiest way to set the volume and lower the volume in the car. I guess there's a volume knob here. It sort of does the same thing. So I guess if your passenger can control the volume here, I guess that's kind of cool. You can configure all these screens here, to an extent. You can't completely change the look of it. As far as, I haven't figured it out yet, and I'm probably not going to figure it out for this video, but Here you have some shortcuts on what to select on the main infotainment screen here. So if you hit navigation, so obviously I'm already in navigation, you can hit radio. It'll switch you to radio or media. And if you hit this backup camera, you can just change it up by using I'm just swiping on the little pad here to move between the little screens here. Pretty good backup camera. It's not like a surround one, but it looks like it does have sensors around the car. And yeah, it's pretty good. Couple of pretty decent cup holders here. I'm sitting in the passenger seat now, and there's pretty ample space in the center console here. This really doesn't have more of a function than just to rest your palm when you're using the little touchscreen here. The leather feels similar to my BMW as far as quality is concerned. It feels like it is real leather. I'm not entirely sure though. Like I mentioned earlier, the vents I love the vents. Very simple to use, very attractive looking vents. Obviously you got the start stop. This is your stock to put it in gear, and there's to put it in park is here. The parking brake is over there in the corner right there, if you want to pull the parking brake. decent size. The glove compartment is also damped when it goes down. It comes down slowly. It doesn't just slam down. It has dampers for that kind of thing. Plenty of room in the passenger seat. It can go well back. I'm 6'2", and I can almost stretch out my legs all the way pretty well. Again, same seat controls here for the passenger side, which is great. I feel like more cars should implement this. This I think is leather. I think this is real metal. It feels, or if it's not, then they fooled me really well. The sunroof controls are right here. So if you do like that, it'll bring the controls, and it also does have a sunroof in the back. They're both automatic. It looks like they probably spool into this area here, and to bring it back, you just go like that, and it retracts. I do like that it goes all the way back too, and again, I guess if you do that, it starts opening up the sunroof right there, and it gives you a bit of a wind deflector here. My VWT one has a very similar sunroof situation. It does not go further back than that, unfortunately, and you just close it like that. Pretty good mirror, I guess. And but yeah, overall fantastic, pretty decent interior for a car that costs whatever it costs. I haven't looked it up. Guessing it's like 50 or 60 grand, and I'll put it on the screen here and when I confirm that. But let's go check out the back seat. All right, so I am sitting behind myself, and again, I'm 6'2", and I can sit behind myself just fine. I could even get closer. I was just incredibly comfortable in the front. So I'm sure you could be up to 6'3", 6'4", and be okay back here. I'm 6'2", and I'm okay. The back seat passengers still have a nice materials back here. They're nice and soft to the touch. You don't get penalized. A lot of cars, they're like cheap out in the back seat area, but this car is pretty good. Obviously you have a bit of this comes down here, and I guess you got some cup holders here as well. There, some cup holders come out here. I guess you just push them in like that. You got some bends here that are similar in size. It's just not as silvery. I guess they're more black, but very similar. A little bit of a storage area here, and some USB plugs, and it looks like there is an AC plug there as well for power, which is nice. Some nice netting here. I guess, back in the day you'd maybe put a map out there, but not anymore. Everything's on your phone. All right, so to open the trunk, you just kind of do like that. And like I said, not the biggest trunk on earth, but it's not too bad. As you can see, it's not too bad. I mean, you could definitely go to Costco on this thing. They include a charger, I guess, for you to charge the car. And then I hope to not be able to use this. If this is where the charging port is located, if you just hit that, there, it comes out actually quite nice and smooth, and it gives you a bit of some tire information here. And yeah, this is where the charging ports are located there. I hope probably not going to be charging the car on my little trip, but here we are. Okay, so as far as, I'm going to keep this kind of quick. This is a very, this car is, obviously it has the typical like crossover looks, but it's unmistakably a Mercedes. Very well designed, very well built vehicle. You can kind of get the idea of the bank vault feeling of the car. It's not much to say. It's just a crossover, and it's a very generic white color, but it's certainly not a bad looking car. The infotainment system in this car, I've always wanted to experience one of these MBUX infotainment systems, and to be quite honest, this is quite, you could say it's exceeding my, everybody has raved about these cars being having really good infotainment systems, and I think I agree. It's pretty good. It's a little, there's a bit of a learning curve. You have to get used to it. It obviously one thing I've noticed with this car, the brief amount of time that I've driven it, is that you have multiple ways to do different things, and everything is configurable to a high degree. Like you have this little trackpad down here, and like some shortcut buttons and stuff. So it's a little bit. It took some time to get used to. Obviously, this is all touchscreen except for the the dash here. And I plugged in my driving from the airport to where I'm staying. I tried to get the CarPlay to work, but it's not wireless. I had to like pull out an actual cable to use it, but I'm actually just using the built-in nav system that it has. And you can kind of feel the Regen braking. I've never really felt that before. I don't know if it's set to. I honestly thought it'd be a little more aggressive, but if you let go of the gas, and yeah, it'll eventually bring you to a stop much quicker than a gasoline car. It took a little getting used to. I guess you just sort of keep a little bit of light pressure on the gas so you don't slow down and start doing the Regen thing. Obviously, I feel like this car would be such an excellent like round town grocery getter. Don't know how, as far as like long distance travel, I don't know if I could make the leap to buy an electric car yet for that kind of thing. Tesla is the reason why I wanted to get a Tesla, is I knew I could probably charge the car relatively easy. But thankfully, I rented this car at budget, and they have a I think they charge you 29 cents per kilowatt hour. So if I give it to them at 50%, they'll charge it up for me and charge whatever it costs. And obviously this is a very short trip, so I'm not going to be charging. I don't have a lot of time to stop and charge the car, so I'm happy that they do that. And it's it certainly has the pickup that you would expect from an electric car. I mean, it certainly feels pretty quick. It takes a little getting used to. Obviously this isn't like a Plaid or something. This is more of a commodity electric car, but very nice inside. I guess you could say this is their sort of entry level. The screens, I'm sort of kind of used to this thing with my Mustang. It has a similar dual digital screen layout, which is why the direction that car manufacturers have gone. They've just went with digital gauges. This is just the way it is. People that complain about this is it's a futile complaint at this point, because it's just this is what's going down. This is what's happening with the car industry, and I think at this point we have to accept it. I've accepted it with my Mustang, and I actually kind of embrace it. I like the fact that everything is somewhat configurable and everything is dynamic, and you're not stuck with the same gauges every day. You can mix it up. One day I want to be use track mode and stuff. Another day I want to just be in comfort, or like have have to turn the exhaust off if I want. So in this car you can do that too. Very smooth. I mean, yeah, I have yet to experience like a real. I mean, I've been in Ubers, like Model 3 Ubers and stuff, and yeah, they felt very smooth. I've never been behind a wheel of an electric car. This doesn't feel all that different from a normal gas-powered car. And I would say that's a good thing. Like, so if you're not. If you're hesitant about like getting in driving an electric car, I don't think the experience is very different as far as because the AC is incredible. I've been trying to figure out a way to get this to sync, but again, I'm only gonna have this car until tomorrow. So, but it's quite a treat to try this thing out and to have the opportunity to drive it. I love the steering wheel. I think Mercedes, this sort of gives me the vibe of my like BMW steering wheel. It's got the 3-spoke design. I think it's very nice. I think this is the best shape for a steering wheel. Obviously it's round too, fully round steering wheel. Who would have thought? You have your physical volume controls, physical controls, real buttons on the steering wheel. Got to give credit to Mercedes. Obviously, I'm sure in the future they'll all be capacitive or whatever, but keeping real buttons. These are all like tactile buttons that you can hit, and I think it looks really great. I think manufacturers need to keep a generous amount of buttons. This is not like obtrusive or anything. This is a very normal amount of buttons. It's not. It does. I feel like it doesn't affect the design in any way. In fact, it, not having buttons looks cheap to me. And it makes everything more complicated. Imagine having to dig into this to like just make it colder in here. I just done it. I'm done. I did it. So honestly, the smoothness of the powertrain is so good. It's definitely peppy enough. If like, you have that instant electric torque. It's not like super fast or anything, but it's certainly fast enough to get you going in a hurry. More than fast enough for really pretty much anybody. And here I am driving around in Concord, North Carolina. Never been here before, actually. So when I was driving from the airport, I had this thing on cruise control. It doesn't have like automated driving or anything like that, for the highway. It just has like it keeps the distance away from other cars. I tried out the cruise control, it worked fine. I didn't feel scared at any point that it was going to like creep into and like hit another car. It slowed down with plenty of anticipation, left plenty of space to keep me not feeling that I was in any kind of danger or anything. I'm a little apprehensive when it comes to these automated systems still, and I'm glad that it did a good job, and I felt like I could trust it. Mercedes has been doing this for a while. They probably, in fact, pioneered a lot of these technologies. When you're buying a Mercedes, you know that all the technology has like been implemented in their more expensive cars, and eventually they trickle down to like a car like this one, which is a little more affordable. I'm not entirely sure how much this car is. I'll look it up when I get home, and I'll probably put it on the screen here. My guess, this feels like a $50,000, maybe $60,000 car. I'm gonna say that's my guess, without any kind of, just my guess. I have no idea. I could be totally off. It could be like 80 grand for all I know. I don't think it is. If it is, but they're never gonna sell these things because it's kind of a smallish SUV. It's like a compact SUV. The trunk isn't that big for an SUV, but obviously I'm sure you could put the seats down just fine and get have a lot more room for stuff. As far as I think this would be a great like suburban suburban vehicle, grocery getter. Fantastic at that. It would be great. And it's so quiet, it's so refined. When I closed the door, you had that that Mercedes bank vault sound the quality's here, and the interior is beautiful. It's honestly one of the nicer interiors I've been in, and because obviously my cars, the cars in our family are sort of getting old. They're not. The interiors are kind of they're pretty nice, but this is obviously on another level. I love these air vents. They're great. They're just easy to, you just grab the middle of it and just turn it any which way you want. It's really nice. The sunroof operation, very smooth. If I had this as a commuter, I wouldn't be upset at all. In fact, obviously it's not a sports car. You have to know what you're getting into when you're buying one of these cars. You're buying a crossover. It's not going to blow your, but it's certainly, it feels stable around corners. There, I did a bit of a maneuver there. I should save that for tomorrow for my racing school. Yeah. Overall, it's a great car. I'm enjoying the opportunity to drive one of these things, and when they, like I said, they give you the opportunity to drive a Benz, you kind of have to take it, and so here we are. Oh, one more thing, I like the like all the Mercedes, they have the You know, the seat adjustment on the door is very easy to get to. There's no like guesswork. You know exactly what you're pressing. I think that's great. I think they should keep doing that. I hope they keep doing that, and I hope, you know, more cars should probably implement that. You know, the seat adjustment on the door panel. I think that's pretty cool. I've never owned one of the. I've never owned a Mercedes. I've been a multiple BMW owner though, and so I never really owned the competition. I've been very curious to own one, and I've actually looked at them in the past. But I guess I'm a little bit of a BMW fanboy. But there are certain things that Mercedes does better than BMW, and obviously I think there's certain things that BMW does better. The stereo is pretty good. You know, I don't think this is like any kind of like Bang Olufsen or like Harman Kardon stereo upgrade. But it does the job really well, and it's a very nice stereo. So one more thing I wanted to mention about the car: when you're driving it, the steering wheel in this entire area sort of like vibrates. It almost makes me feel like for a second I thought that this car was a hybrid, but it's just the steering wheel vibrates, and I don't know if it kind of that's why it kind of feels like a normal vehicle, like an internal combustion car, because it just doesn't. It kind of gives you the same physical feelings to how that one of those cars makes you feel. The hood release is right here. So you're curious to see what's under the hood of an EQB. Almost looks like a real engine in here. Obviously you have a normal battery. I'm assuming the battery's, you know, tucked in the back. When I picked this car up, it had 241 miles of charge at 100%, so probably, and I've only used maybe like 20 something miles of range, which is pretty, and I've driven about 20 something miles of range. What is that? Somebody left a movie here. Interesting. Anyway, that's what the engine looks like. I have no idea what this does, but it looks like there are high power lines and stuff. I don't know if this has anything to do with the drivetrain. I imagine that it is. I guess you can fill up fluids and stuff here. Probably have a hard time checking your oil, engine oil here. And, you know, I just thought that was worth mentioning. It, you know, I think it's this way by design. I don't think this is any kind of like an issue or anything. It's just, you know, the car sort of vibrates. You know, and I'm actually going to look it up and I'll put it on the screen if I actually find what they call that. If they, you know, and. But I think I kind of like it. It's sort of like it makes you feel more, you know, more at home, I guess. If you're coming from like a gas engine car, it'll kind of give you more of that normal feeling. Anyway, I think I'm gonna wrap it up here as far as the driving portion of this review. It's a nice ride, man, and you know, definitely gets you to A and B in style. Obviously, you got the utility of the smoothness of an electric vehicle, the utility of a small compact crossover, and you know, I think it's a solid choice. These are my like base thoughts on the EQB, Mercedes-Benz EQB 300, and I'm gonna leave it at that. Let me know if you have any questions about the car. It really helps a lot if you can like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.